Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? Edgeman Synerjob coming to you guys today with another deck tech. So, today we are taking a look at another standard deck, and it is Blue-Green Delver. Now, while this deck is not traditionally like the Blue-White Delver decks that everybody uses and abuses, this deck is much more fun and synergetic to work around, and it actually matches up incredibly well with Blue-White Delver. So much so that it's almost... I almost win every single time that I'm playing based on what I can sideboard in. But that's besides the point. A lot of people have been asking for this deck and to see how I run it. I played this first whenever M13 came out, then I stopped playing the deck, I took it apart, and then I kind of worked on some other decks and played around with stuff like that. And now I'm back to putting this deck together and showing you guys because a lot of people have been requesting it. So we are going to break it down and take a look at what makes this deck work. But before we get to that, if you guys have any suggestions for decks that you would like to see, please leave that down in the comments below. And please be sure to check out the deck tech playlist that is in the links down below. And you guys can keep up to date with what all is going on and what I've covered already. So the first thing that we're taking a look at here is the land base. So our first card is Hinterland Harbor. Now the thing that's unique about this land base is it's exactly 1/3 of the deck. So we're running 20 lands, which is really greedy. Most Delver decks are going to be running around 21 lands, being the minimum. Some of them run 22 based on what they like to use, if it's Batterskull or Thragtusk, which we actually do have in the main board, and I really love playing that card in Delver, especially this type of a deck. But Hinterland Harbor is our first card here out of the 20 lands that we have. We're running a playset of it. We have 7 sources of green mana in our mana base, not including Cavern of Souls, but we can make it work based on what we have. So playset of Hinterland Harbor. So put that down here. We have Cavern of Souls, which helps us mana fix a little bit. We really just use this in the given situation that we have it. Based on what you have in your hand and what you need the mana for and to fix, and especially if you're playing against Delver, and because 9 times out of 10 they're going to have mana leaks. Pretty much every Delver deck has mana leaks, so you're going to run into them if you're facing up against the Delver matchup. So you're going to need Cavern of Souls to make sure that your stuff actually stays on the board. So Cavern of Souls is one of those ways to just make mana leak not work, pretty much. So running a playset of it. It does help us fix a little bit, but I think more of the purpose behind this card is just deterring mana leak. But the mana fixing is incredibly nice as well. So playset of Cavern. And we just kind of name stuff as we're going along. Like if we need to play Talrand, then we're going to go with Wizard because we're going to be able to also play Snapcaster off of the Cavern. But it's seriously whatever situation presents itself, you just kind of work your way out of it. Then we have our basic lands, so we're running 9 islands. So we're going to break them off into 5 and 4 because that's how I have my lands set up. So 5 of these and 4 of these Zendikar lands. And then we have 3 forests. So these are the other 3 sources out of the 7 for green mana, not including Cavern of Souls. So that's what we're running for the mana base. It's pretty greedy. It's 20 lands, but at the same time, we don't have a huge amount of high cost stuff, so we can kind of work around it. We also have a decent amount of digging, some traditional stuff, but we can make it work with Snapcaster and stuff like that to get the stuff that we need. If we need more land drops, we can get more land drops. That's never a problem. Alright, so now we're taking a look at everything else in this deck. So we have Delver of Secrets first off here, as you guys could imagine. We're running a playset of him. Probably one of the best cards and most abused cards in the standard format right now. So we're running a playset of him. We'll put him off to the side here. Then we have Snapcaster Mage, so 2/1 for 2 flash, and we get to flash back our stuff, all the things from our grave. Snapcaster is just amazing. you can use them pretty much for anything, whether it's building up Quirion Dryad, or flashing back Vapor Snags, or flashing back Mana Leaks. He's just so versatile right now, and he's, alongside Delver, he's one of the most used cards at this point. That and Bonfire of the Damned, I would probably say, but Snapcaster Mage is a huge card for this deck, and we need him as a playset, so we'll put him off to the side here. Then we have Quirion Dryad, so 1/1 for 2 mana. Whenever you cast a white, blue, black, or red spell, put a +1/+1 counter on her. So she gets to be really huge really quick, and mainly the only way to get rid of her is going to be to Vapor Snag her. And we do run Mental Missteps whenever it comes up to the Delver matchups. We run one main board and 2 sideboard, and we just kind of go with it appropriately based on what we're playing against. But the Dryad gets to be really huge. Bonfire cannot get rid of her whenever it gets to be big enough. And she's just a powerhouse. Most decks cannot deal with her whenever she gets to be a 5/5, 6/6, 7/7, somewhere around there. And she does build up really quick, especially with flashing back spells with Snapcaster Mage. So we're running a playset of the Dryad. Put her down here. Next we have Phantasmal Image. So we are running 3 of these. So Phantasmal Image is used more so against other matchups that are going to use Geist of Saint Traft, the blue-white Delver variants. Also human variants that use Thalia. Any real legendary creatures that we need to get rid of. Sometimes Talrands if our opponent's playing them and we don't want to waste our 4 mana to get one of our Talrands out to trade. But Phantasmal Image, you can also copy up a Flip Delver, have 2 3/3s. Snapcaster Mage to then flashback something else. There's a lot of purposes behind Phantasmal Image, but more often than not I find myself just getting rid of stuff with Phantasmal Image, getting rid of legendary creatures. So that's what we use them for. But also you can copy up Thragtusk. It's a really slow method of kind of combos in the deck, but if you can get it to work, and if the opportunity is present, you can copy up Thragtusk, and that's always fun. And I've had it happen a couple of times, but it's not something that we need to have happen, but if it happens, it's really awesome. So 3 Phantasmal Image. Then we have Talrand Sky Summoner. So he is a 2/2 for 4, 2 generic and 2 blue. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying onto the battlefield. We are running 3 Talrands in the deck, and he is just a huge card whenever it comes up to the Delver matchups, just because the tokens that he creates can block everything that Delver can do. Just because they're going to be using Sword of War and Peace, and that's not going to be relevant against this matchup, because we can produce blue creatures, so we can block them. Talrand gets out a lot of stuff really easily, especially with flashing back cards, and he gets to be pretty overwhelming. So we're running him as a 3-of. We don't really need 4 of him in the deck, but it's nice that I have some shiny ones of him, and I actually set out to get shiny ones as soon as M13 came out, because I was like, wow, this card is ridiculous for Delver, and I definitely wanted to get some of them. But Talrand just powerhouse against a lot of matchups, but mainly blue-white Delver is where he shines the most, no pun intended. Alright, so the next card that we have is Thragtusk, so we are running this as a 1-of. Now, a lot of different Delver decks like to do 5-drop stuff like Batterskull, but for this deck, because we're already running green, we have the ability to run Thragtusk, and he's the only 5-drop that we have in this deck. So he's a 5/3. Whenever he enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life. That's going to be relevant against stuff like zombies, red-green aggro, other Delver matchups, anything like that. Whenever he leaves the battlefield, you get a 3/3 out of him. So pretty much no removal is going to be able to deal with him that well. If your opponent Vapor Snags him, you can play him again. You can Vapor Snag your own Thragtusk and replay him the next turn. If it's your opponent's turn and you drop Vapor Snag on your own Thragtusk, get a 3/3, play him the next turn, gain 5 life, and you can just kind of rinse and repeat with that. Thragtusk has a lot of really, really good synergy in a deck like this one. He is just so tremendous, such a good card in the standard format right now, especially as a 5-drop. So 1 Thragtusk, and we also carry some more in the sideboard. I run 2 of them in the sideboard, but it's just such a good card. And we have Mental Misstep, so again, another card that's in the main board and sideboard as well. Counter target spell with converted mana cost 1, so it's gonna be Vapor Snag. Vapor Snag's the most annoying card that you have to face up with, but with Mental Misstep, you really don't have to worry about it. The only thing that kind of sucks is if it's Vapor Snag, I Mental Misstep, they Mental Misstep, or they just play another Vapor Snag on top of it, but it really doesn't happen that often. But Mental Misstep it wrecks face against Delver, and we side in more based on what Delver matchups we're playing against. Some of them, I've played up against some matchups where I haven't even sided in more Mental Missteps. One has just been fine, but then there's some matchups where you really need to side in more of them. It really just strings from how experienced your opponent is in playing Delver. So we run 1 Mental Misstep. Then we have our Ponders, and I have one of my Pokeball Ponder Altars. I wanted to do more of them, but I didn't get around to doing any more, but I might take some time and do some. But we basically get to rearrange the top 3 cards and plan out our next 2 turns, shuffling away anything that isn't good, essentially. If our next 2 turns don't look really good, then we can just shuffle it away and hope that the card that we draw off is something that we need. But the other thing that kind of works around Ponder, and we have it here, is Thought Scour. So it's a weird synergy that can occur, but Thought Scour and Ponder actually work really good together, because if you want one card off of Ponder and you don't want the other 2, you can Thought Scour yourself, get rid of those 2 cards, and then still draw something. But that's a little bit more out of the way with what we do, but it does happen, and I do it a lot, actually. But Ponder is just one of those staples that you need in a Delver deck, so we're running a playset of it to just kind of work with things that we want and we want to see in the next 2 turns. Then we have Gitaxian Probe, looking at our target player's hand, looking at our opponent's hand, drawing a card, and being able to do it for 2 life is nice because it synergizes with Quirion Dryad, Talrand, and it can easily be flashback with Snapcaster on the spot. So, running a playset of Gitaxian Probe, the best thing about it is just looking at your opponent's hand and writing down what they have, and just kind of working with it and seeing what all they play, what they're holding back, and trying to figure out why. Delver is a really thought-oriented deck, and you just kind of have to think about what's going on and what the best possible outcome can be. So we have Gitaxian Probe to help us out with that. So playset of Gitaxian Probe. 1 Thought Scour, and I really don't like running a lot of Thought Scours. I ended up just cutting this down to 1. I was running 2 of them before, but now it's just 1. But Thought Scour is still pretty good, like I explained before with the Ponder. But it also can disrupt other stuff if our opponent ponders and resets the top 3 cards and then draws off of it. We can Thought Scour them, get rid of those 2 cards, especially if they're planning a Delver flip and they haven't gotten one. That's something that works, but just drawing another card off of it is nice to have. So that's why we use it. Then we have Vapor Snag. So we're running Vapor Snag as a playset, so return target creature to its owner's hand and they lose 1 life. So we can use it with Thragtusk if we really want to use it on ourselves. Also, you can use it on your own creatures if your opponent's trying to bonfire or something like that, especially if it's like Delver and you really can't work without having Delver. If the situation is really bad for you and you need that 1 creature, you can Vapor Snag your own creature and get it back. which doesn't happen too often, but it does happen in some situations where you just need to go Epic Pro and just try to figure out what the best possible way to work your way out of it is. But Vapor Snag is mainly just used against our opponents. We just want to throw back their stuff, not have any blockers, not have any swingers, and just make it much less situational for us. So, playset of Vapor Snag. And we're actually running Unsummon in here as well. And I've really liked playing 2 Unsummons in this deck. So it's Vapor Snag without your opponent losing life. So still 1 blue, return target creature to its owner's hand. So this card, again, I chose to use this because aggro is so heavy in the meta right now that I like running Unsummon in some matchups. In other matchups, I side this out for Gutshot because Gutshot can strictly be better. But I decided to run 2 Unsummons just because it's been hitting all the right spots with the stuff that we've been able to throw back with this deck. So Unsummon, just as a 2-of, giving us 6 sources of just boomeranging our opponent's stuff back to their hands. So we're running 2 Unsummons. We have Mana Leak, and I had one of my altered ones. But we're running 3 Mana Leaks in this deck. It was slimmed down from 4, and we counter target spell unless it's payer pays 3 life. It pretty much works against any deck except for ones that run Cavern of Souls. But Mana Leak can just deal with a lot of different situations, especially Bonfire. Bonfire is extremely annoying, so we want to have a way to just kind of deal with it. So 3 Mana Leaks. And then we finally have 2 Gutshots. So the Gutshots that we have here are mainly going to be used for stuff like Nyapod. Nyapod is really heavy in 1-drops, stuff like Birds of Paradise, anything like that, just mana dorks. We want to get rid of those because they're really important to decks like Nyapod, especially with accelerating. It also works semi-good against Delver, especially if the Delver is trying to flip and you can just Gutshot it. But this is one of those cards that works with Quirion Dryad. It just pumps her up really nicely. It also works with Talrand. It can just put out more 2/2s if you cast it, cast Delver, flashback, cast it again. It's just one of those things that just works. We run it as a 2 of main board and 2 sideboard, just because there's some matchups where Gutshot just does absolutely nothing, and I think I would rather have Unsummon as just a 2 of. But it's just from player to player. If you guys like running 4 Gutshots, go ahead with it. I've just really found use in running 2 Unsummons, 2 Gutshots, so that's how I've played it so far. So yeah, that is about it for this blue-green Delver deck tech. So if you guys missed out on anything, the entire deck list is down below for you guys. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and a favorite if you really enjoyed it. And remember to subscribe to the channel for more Magic the Gathering videos. There's a couple of links down below that you guys can check out, especially the Deck Tech playlist, so you guys can keep up to date with what all's going on with different decks and everything like that. But the best way to do that is just to subscribe to the channel, and you'll always be notified of new stuff. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, have a wonderful, fun-filled Magic the Gathering day.